I want to start with the smell. Every old house has one. A particular combination of wood and time, and the specific habits of whoever lived there longest. My grandmother Eleanor's house smelled like talcum powder, and something faintly herbal, rosemary maybe, and underneath it all, old paper. I never thought about that last part until later. Until it made a different kind of sense. She died in February, 81 years old, in her own bed. Which is what she'd always said she wanted. I was the one who answered the phone at 6 a.m. I was the one who called my parents afterward. I don't say that to claim anything. I say it because it established a pattern that the next several months would follow. Me, slightly ahead of everyone else, doing the administrative work of grief while the rest of the family felt it more loudly. Nobody asked me to manage the renovation. I volunteered. The house needed work before it could be sold. The kitchen was 40 years out of date. There was water damage in the back bedroom, and the foundation had a crack that the inspector circled 3 times. I hired a company. I handled the permits. I told myself it was practical. I think now it was also a way to keep visiting her without having to explain why. The foreman's name was Dale. Steady, unhurried, the kind of man who called when he said he would and didn't embellish. When he called on a Thursday morning, 11 days into the job, his voice was different. Not alarmed, but careful in a way it hadn't been before. "Ms. Carter," he said, "we found something in the back wall, the one behind the linen closet. I need you to come down here, but I'd appreciate it if you came alone first, before you bring family." I asked him if someone was hurt. "No ma'am, just, come see." The drive took 20 minutes. I don't remember most of it. I remember that my hands felt strange on the wheel. Not shaking exactly, more like present in a way they usually weren't. Hyper-aware. I kept thinking about what you find in walls, pipes, insulation, old newspaper used as padding. I was not thinking about what was actually there. 2 police officers were in the driveway when I arrived. A sedan, unmarked but obvious. Dale was standing near the front door with his hat in his hands, which somehow made everything feel more serious than the police did. "We're required to be here," one of the officers explained. Before I could ask, when certain documents are discovered during renovation, there's a reporting requirement. It's procedural. You're not in any trouble. Inside, on the kitchen table, they had placed a metal box, the kind sold at hardware stores for fireproofing. It had been sealed inside the wall cavity, behind the linen closet, wrapped in a plastic bag, then wrapped again in what looked like an old pillowcase. Someone had put it there intentionally. Someone had wanted it to survive. Inside the box, a handwritten will, dated 16 years ago, financial records I didn't immediately understand. A small stack of letters, rubber-banded, addressed to no one, and a deed, a property deed, with my name on it, my name only, written in my grandmother's handwriting, notarized, legal. The property was a small piece of land 2 counties over. I had never heard of it. I had no idea she owned it. I told my parents that evening. My sister Rachel was there. I put the documents on the table, the same way Dale had put the box on the kitchen table. Carefully, without theater. My mother went very quiet. My father asked 3 questions in a row, without waiting for answers. Rachel looked at me in a way I recognized. The way she'd looked at me at school once, when I got something she thought should have been hers. And then looked away. The older will had different instructions than the one we'd probated. Not dramatically different, but different enough to require action with an estate attorney, which we had 2 weeks later, all 4 of us in chairs that weren't quite comfortable, being careful with our words. I am still inside that process. Some things are still unresolved. I want to say that plainly, because this isn't a story with clean edges. What I keep returning to isn't the land or the legal question, or even Rachel's face that evening. It's a sentence from one of the letters. My grandmother had written it to no one in particular, or maybe to herself, or maybe, somehow, to me. The letter wasn't dated. It was written in her small, even handwriting, on paper that had gone soft with age. She wrote, "Some things I kept quiet, because I didn't know if you were ready. I'm still not sure, but I'd rather you find it than it disappear." I've read it probably 40 times now. I think about the locked doors in that house. The rooms she didn't explain. The questions she deflected, with a change of subject and a cup of tea. I used to read those silences as distance. I understand them differently now. Not as secrets kept from me, but as something held in reserve. Something she decided, at some point, that I was the one to carry. The house is still being renovated. Dale finished the kitchen last week. It looks nothing like it did. I went by on a Saturday morning, let myself in with the key I still have. Stood in the back room where they'd opened the wall. The cavity was patched now, painted over, smooth. I stood there for a while. I didn't cry. I wasn't sure what I was doing, exactly. I think I was just letting her be complicated, letting her be someone who loved imperfectly, and planned carefully and left me something I didn't ask for and can't return. That feels like enough to start with,